the rule-based order, it's like very good, but it's like was very neutral. But now the cracks appear, the glimpse in the metrics, like for every year, it's like you get the Trump gets deplatformed, and doesn't matter what you think about him, but it's just like it's very notable to many like political leaders around the world. And so once, let's say, your central bank reserves gets frozen, it's also very notable. And also, actually, what doesn't matter what you think about Andrew Tate versus Greta Thunberg, but is like if the guy gets deplatformed on so many platforms, like it's like coordinated kind of attempt at cancellation. It's also very notable by, I don't know, many people who actually just like might share some of his, or even not might share it. They might even not like his opinions or whatever, or just think it doesn't matter what you think of him, but like just the case that he was like deplatformed from Uber to Airbnb to I don't know this bank, that bank, this I don't know Gmail or what, I don't know, YouTube, Instagram. Without but which is similar to what you said about the Russian oligarchs. Like they might be just like, I don't know, did they do something? It's just like they might maybe just like be more aligned with some regime or more sympathetic, or it's just like basically based on their opinions probably, but not on their transactions, or like they were like they're just it's just like you're switching. There is like a switch, and suddenly you are on the wrong side of the history or something. So you're waking up on the wrong side of capitalism.
Hello, welcome back to Mtambo's Desk podcast. My name is Duke Mtambo, and the following is a conversation with Jakub Simek, a co-founder of Azesha DAO and an author of Wisdom Enterprising. In today's episode, I'll be talking with Jakub Simek about his article, Moral Stack, under the daily Balajisms series. And now, dear friends, here is Jakub Simek. Jakub, thank you for joining me again today at Mtambo's Desk podcast.
Hi, Duke. Pleasure is mine. Happy to see you again.
Well, let's start with the basics. Jakub, can you explain to us what Balaji Srinivasan means by the moral stack, and why is it important in the Web3 era?
Yeah, he calls it like layer 0, using the blockchain metaphor, the crypto metaphor of like layer 1 blockchains, then layer 2, let's say like Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Lightning, or Ethereum versus Polygon, and so and many people discuss and talk about full stack engineers, like that you are like a front end and back end engineer. And what Balaji talks about as a full stack, that you need to have also this moral layer as a layer 0, of your stack. Then if you want to be a full stack engineer, you need to have also the moral case for your innovation, the moral case for technological progress, and you need to state it clearly. And you need to be able to state it clearly and to constantly evangelize about your not just your product, but the moral case for your product or service. And why is that? Because in the Web 1 era, the most important question was like, can we ship it? Can we build it? It was like the tech stack was important. Like, so for example, like a LAMP stack, it's like Linux, Apache, Microsoft SQL, and PHP, Python. I don't know. No, it's like just like an example, like the LAMP stack, like something like the technological improvements were important, during the Web 1 era. And the most important question was, can we ship it or can we build it? Then in the Web 2 era, like of social networks, for example, the most important question was like, will they buy it? So it was like, building that services or technologies was still challenging, but it wasn't like the most important question. But the issue was like, will the customers buy our service or get subscribed to our service? Will we be able to keep our customers? Will they migrate to our competition? So like this was the most important question. Will they buy it? And in the Web3 era, the most important question is like, will they ban it? So sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, will our service be banned? That's the most important question. So maybe just like to summarize, so in the Web1 era, the most important question was, will be able to ship it, says Balaji. So will we be able to build it, was the most important question in the Web1 era. In the Web2 era of social networks and like SaaS companies, and the most important question wasn't about technological stack, but actually about how our services will be monetized and how actually the customers will acquire or will be able to use our services. So the question will be, will they buy it? And will the customers buy it? Will they subscribe to our services? And everything was optimized around like customer acquisition. And in the Web3 era, the question is like, will they ban it? So you need to have like a global stack as well. So the moral stack, like explaining why let's say crypto is helping the world, helping both the power user and the powerless. With crypto, every user is the root user. So explaining like why Bitcoin is important and why actually is not so energetically demanding or energy demanding compared to other solutions like fiat institutions. They also take a lot of energy. And so like you need to have like this moral stack, but you also have to have global stack in the Web3 era, because for example, if one jurisdiction bans it, bans or has some kind of like not so friendly or crypto unfriendly regulation, let's say, then you just the founder in the crypto in the Web3 era needs to just be able to pack their backpack and just move to a friendlier jurisdiction. So that's like the most important question. So it's like Balaji talks about moral stack, tech stack, moral stack. It's like a layer 0, then tech stack, and also global stack. So like a global stack of various jurisdictions.
Okay, that's a great explanation, Jakub. I completely agree that the moral justification behind the product is just as important as the technology itself. It's what gives us a sense of purpose and direction, especially in an era where technology is advancing at a rapid pace. But Balaji also mentions the comparison between Bitcoin and centralized payment processing companies such as Visa or MasterCard, or often being unfair. You mentioned about the energy consumption, but can you compare the energy consumption of Bitcoin with that of centralized payment processing companies like Visa and MasterCard?
Yeah, I mean, this is like a criticism from many years. It's just like Visa or MasterCard, they're much more efficient, like especially like energy efficient, decentralized services when processing payments compared to Bitcoin. But yeah, maybe they explain it to people, let's say in Lebanon or Venezuela, why they're relying on, I don't know, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Tether, or some other like USDC or some other services, and I mean protocols. And Web3, when MasterCard or Visa are better. Why? Well, because because they want to be root users of their money. Like they will with crypto, every user is a root user. that's the moral justification for crypto, and it's like very very obvious ones. Let's say there are some there is a collapse of the financial system, let's say in Lebanon or in Venezuela, and like these companies like Visa or MasterCard, okay, they are more efficient, but they are not operating in a vacuum. So meaning like they're more efficient, just but they are not standalone institutions. They're using this technological platform of the US dollar, which is actually a technological platform as well. It's not just a currency. And there are many parts of this platform, and one of them is let's say all the ships, all the military planes, all the aircraft carriers that are actually patrolling the high seas, and they're protecting the trade routes, and okay, military is not that ecologically efficient or energy efficient, and also blowing up other countries is not so I don't know, there is a lot of CO2 going into atmosphere and just so basically just to generalize this, the fiat is backed by the fiat money is backed by men with guns, as Paul Krugman says. And basically, and crypto or Bitcoin is the money backed by math. So it's like the math is better than violence. It's just you can summarize it in this way. So
okay, so we can say like a dollar is ruled by law, while Bitcoin and crypto is a global rule of code and neutral protocols.
Yeah, but it's neutral, because you imagine okay, it's just imagine you are a country X that decides to do something stupid, like invade country Y for no good reason, but let's say, I don't know, they have their national pride being hurt, or I don't know, or just this kind of things happens, and it happened last year as well, and but then the country X actually finds out that their national reserves of foreign currencies, actually they're not theirs, because they can be seized or blocked, or it's kind of attacking the basic assumptions we had about economy or something. So our a better example, you don't need to be country X attacking country Y, getting deplatformed by country A and C or whatever, but or just just meaning let's say Russia foolishly invades Ukraine and gets into this long war, which is very unfortunate for especially Ukrainians, but also for, I guess, Russians and for Europeans and for actually the whole world, because of food prices and energy prices, and basically everybody suffering. Actually, not really everybody, because the first world is okay. Also, it's kind of emotional suffering maybe, but let's say people in India and in Africa are suffering more because of the high inflation and energy prices. So it's very unfortunate for everyone, and it's quite stupid. But in this example, let's say Russian, I think was foreign reserves were frozen, right?
By US.
That were held in other. And it actually was it was a Canadian lady who proposed it, and she was also behind the internal sanctions of the Canadian truckers, so it's
really?
Just to connect the dots, because I mean, it's once you have some kind of innovation or something, it can be repurposed on other contexts. But it's interesting that it's basically just some kind of bureaucrat from, I don't know, I guess some Canadian bank or central bank or something like that, coming up with these ideas, novel ideas, how to how to turn, let's say, or weaponize the fiat currencies, but it has some kind of direct and indirect consequences. It's like nevertheless, or like besides what you kind of think about, like this particular war or something, it's just like it has some kind of consequences. Similarly to, let's say, deplatforming of Trump, what resonated around the world, and it's like. It's like you don't need to be a fan of him, or you don't need to dislike him or anything, but it's just resonated because the leaders around the world, they realized like, okay, wait a minute, actually I can be deplatformed any moment from Twitter, and it will hurt my political capital. So I'm like I'm not a root user of my account, on web 2 social media, even now with with all these DMs and all these Twitter files, and stuff. And you could see like some rando employee at Twitter can read your DMs, and can like just, you're like nobody there, it's like really like a Chinese farmer before Deng Xiaoping, and before before capitalism became legal in China. It's you can be deplatformed anytime. It's like your content doesn't belong to you. You can be shadow banned, and you don't own the teeth in your own head, as Balaji gives the example from the Mao's China. Like everything is just like you are there just like a server, just like you can be deplatformed. There is no digital property rules and property ownership, no digital property on the current web 2 internet, so you need web 3. And I mean,
and that's how dollar is ruled by, by law and policy enforcement.
But it's but there is a difference between a rule of law and rule by law, But no, but you're right. But it's important because in the US, when they were still in their like hyperpower era, like in the 90s, in the early 2000s, they were much more neutral, maybe before 9/11 or something, I mean, and they were like really like, I don't know, supporting, helping to end communism, and like supporting some democracy movements or something like that. I'm talking about like the 80s and 90s, and of course, like many people can argue that they were never like a benign actor, like there were many like controversies around them. Okay, so like but still, anyhow, you can say like they were their influence or their impact on the world was much more positive in the 80s or in the 90s. Like at least they were much better than the communists, like and other like authoritarians. It's like they were the freedom, the hope of many, like the blue jeans and Coca-Cola, and like the American dream, like really resonated. But in this century, like I don't know, their influence is like it's like less and less clear if their impact is good or bad. It's more maybe bad, like destabilizing, like let's say Middle Eastern countries, and it's not really immediately clear if it's on balance, if it's good or bad. It's probably but they were much more neutral when they were like in their hyperpower era. And now they're becoming much more like nationalistic and partisan, and which kind of you could see it like with with these kind of sanctions, which might be reasonable or justified or something, but they are setting precedents then for just like countries realizing, okay, like they can be the president is not the most powerful because he can be deplatformed by some random Twitter employee, just like together with some security services, like they just deplatform the most powerful man on the planet, just like
the way they say that.
And but now you realize like you could be let's say on the UN Security Council, and you can get financially deplatformed as a country, and your billions of dollars seized or blocked, or And okay, like just going back from the macro level to the micro level, you can be like some unfortunate troll or someone like Andrew Tate. I don't know. It's just like finding out that you can be deplatformed from all the services at once.
Even also the issue of I don't think if it was correct to also freeze some of the funds by the Russian oligarchs, like for example Abramovich. Some of them, they are not even in Russia; they are outside Russia, like maybe doing their business and put investment, for example, in a country like UK. Like say for example Chelsea, maybe. Just to mention an example, but I don't think if that one was also very necessary to do as by US.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, the Balaji says that the number one rule of the rules-based order is that the US is making the rules, So it's just like, so it's basically also on the other topic, he discusses like, how people are actually more and more, it's also many of these topics become like politicized and partisan, like let's say democracy, like how democratic you are as a country becomes more and more kind of, it's just like democracy is like one of these terms that are very elastic and plastic, and they can mean many things to many people. Like I don't know, the North Korea is like the People's Democratic Republic of Korea or something, so they have like the word democratic there in 3 times, so it's like but like Balaji talks about like how democracy basically kind of is something, it's like how close you are to the Democratic Party, basically, agenda or something like that. So like imagine, okay, Hungary, for example, is like considered not so democratic anymore, for I don't know, because I don't know, they're like more conservative or something. But like I mean, I don't particularly think that their brand of doing thing or their conservatism is like smart or anything, but like but they're, for example, like just if you are kind of like looking at the numbers, like for example, they accept like 30 times more foreign students than Slovakia. Okay, maybe 28 times more, just to be precise, but it's not like 30%, but it's 30 times more foreign students. And we have friends who studied like from Kenya who studied in Hungary. They provide twice as much humanitarian aid than Slovakia on per capita and on GDP. It's not GDP, but it's like a gross national income basis. So it's like twice as much. They have, for example, like same sex partnerships or something, and Slovakia doesn't. And they have Islam is like registered religion in Hungary, but it's not in Slovakia. And you can go on like and have like probably more of these like examples. You can find like maybe I guess another 10 or 5 or whatever examples like this. But for some reason, it's basically they're much more undemocratic and perceived much more undemocratic than Slovakia. And normally, if you are a bit on a spectrum or something and you actually care about the reality, I think like last time we were discussing these like Baudrillard's simulacra, like actually there, if you are caring about the reality or just trying to change the behavior of people or trying or caring about what your ideological tribes thinks, or if you are like a politician trying to manipulate various ideological tribes. But if you care about the base reality, maybe you should care like about like I don't know, I think a country that provides twice as much aid, humanitarian aid and development aid, and the country that accepts 30 times or close to 30 times more foreign students, at least like it's like more humane or more liberal in this kind of classical liberalism sense. And it's more, or even you can say it's more progressive, so comparing Hungary to Slovakia. But for some reason, Slovakia is like this poster child, amazing liberal democracy and liberal country. And Hungary is like all this like conservative kind of, I don't know, almost authoritarian country. But it's kind of can be resolved very simply by just like checking how close the establishment or the leaders of these countries are to the Democratic Party of the US. So how close you are to the current, let's say, blue establishment and their like their narrative. So if you like repeat the correct phrases and if you like are aligned with them like politically and you don't oppose their policies, or you're like not, I don't know, too much anti-Vogue or too much post-Vogue, or I don't know, just like criticizing them too much or trying to be viewed as a conservative, then you are doing fine. You can be like Slovakia, where it's just like crazy, like we have the strictest religious kind of like law within Europe, so meaning like stricter than Russia, if I'm correct. It's not like the EU, not within EU, but within Europe. So just to register a new church or a new religion, you would need to have like 50,000 signatures in Slovakia, and compare it to other countries. I don't know, in Slovenia it's like 20 something, signatures, like 20 members, and you can start your own church. But in Slovakia you would need to have like 50,000 actually. And they were increasing it over the years, so they were like making it stricter and stricter. And this is just like one small example of, let's say, you can be like super liberal in your PR and your perception, like but like on some axes or some dimensions you can be like super conservative. And but if you are aligned with the US establishment, the old establishment, or like from democratic, like the Democratic Party in the US, then you are like you have much better PR, let's say, than the other country, which is actually liberal on many, or more liberal on many other dimensions. So which is like, it's quite interesting.
That's true. It's very, very interesting. Well, that's a very insightful point, Jakub. Also, the idea of money being backed by math is an interesting concept. And I think it's what makes Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies so appealing to many people. I also think people often forget about the other costs associated with the traditional payment processing companies and only focus on the energy consumption of Bitcoin. It's important to have a more holistic view of this of the situation too.
Yeah, right. So as we just like digressed a bit, like to talk about Slovakia versus Hungary. It's just like yeah, but what we meant is like, okay, the rule-based order, it's like very good, but it's like was very neutral. But now the cracks appear, the glimpse in the metrics, like for every year, it's like you get the Trump gets deplatformed, and doesn't matter what you think about him, but it's just like it's very notable to many like political leaders around the world. And so once, let's say, your central bank reserves gets frozen, it's also very notable. And also, actually, what doesn't matter what you think about Andrew Tate versus Greta Thunberg, but is like if the guy gets deplatformed on so many platforms, like it's like coordinated kind of attempt at cancellation. It's also very notable by, I don't know, many people who actually just like might share some of his, or even not might share it. They might even not like his opinions or whatever, or just think it doesn't matter what you think of him, but like just the case that he was like deplatformed from Uber to Airbnb to I don't know, this bank, that bank, this, I don't know, Gmail or what, I don't know, YouTube, Instagram. Without, but which is similar to what you said about the Russian oligarchs, like they might be just like, I don't know, did they do something, it's just like they might maybe just like be more aligned with some regime or more sympathetic, or it's just like basically based on their opinions probably, but not on their transactions, or like they were like, they're just it's just like you're switching. There is like a switch and suddenly you are on the wrong side of the history or something. So you're waking up on the wrong side of capitalism. yeah, but okay, but we're getting back to the point. Okay, so the rule of a rule of law is good when it's not rule by law, but actually rule of law applying to everyone, like to the king and to the farmer at the same time. Like everybody is ruled by a law, but it's not like a rule by law that the king produces a new law and he's like oppressing the others, but it's like he's subjecting himself also to the same law as the other citizens are. But the rule of law was neutral when the US was strong, like in their hyper power era, says Balaji, but now when they're getting a bit weaker and they can't build in the physical world, like their infrastructure is deteriorating, and let's say they lost in Afghanistan in 2021, and they're kind of becoming more and more like China, but it's like they're like kind of like soft power version of China, like a kind of not really being so harsh, but like trying, I don't know, it's like we did like this kind of half measures, like this like half lockdowns copied by China. So also the social credit system and this, like, let's say Twitter files, what Twitter files revealed, this like half half measures of censorships are this like soft censorship is also kind of like it probably will not work well. It's just like destroying the image of like a neutral, democratic kind of liberal, classically liberal kind of power. It's not good. It's not doing good to the EU or to the US or to the West in general. And basically, what Balaji talks about is that the Web3 and the crypto, like the crypto is to the US what the America was to Europe. It's like the new frontier, and it's also it's the new hope. It's like the financial internet. So the internet is to the US, and the crypto is like the financial internet. What the Americas were to Europe. So it's like the new blue jeans, the orange coin is the new blue jeans.
Yeah.
Because and you see, you have people like in Venezuela or in Lebanon embracing crypto, like the powerless or also the powerful, like the power users of the world are also embracing crypto. So you get both. And so
Elon Musk always say voice popul.
Vox populi, vox Dei.
So if you see like this more, I mean, it's so interesting, like these small countries are the one which maybe have like not more than 5 million people are the one embracing like Bitcoin or the orange coin in the forefront, like El Salvador, Central African Republic, so it's so interesting.
Yeah. I mean, El Salvador and Central African Republic, and then the people, not Venezuela, like the country or the regime, but like people in Venezuela who are desperate to, I don't know, have some financial stability or tools to. Yeah. But you're right. Yeah, El Salvador definitely with Nayib Bukele is a great inspiration. And Central African Republic, I haven't read much about it, but I noticed it, and it's like the second country that legalized Bitcoin. And actually, El Salvador made it like compulsory or something, like, which is a bit strange, But but like all these companies, they must adopt it. The McDonald's or anyone operating in the country, they must accept.
Yeah, I mean, it's it will be it will remain in the history. It will be written in the history of El Salvador, because also you remember, I think in 2021, if I'm not wrong, or is it 2021 or early 2022, they also invited around is it 40 countries, from different parts of the world. Like most of them came from Africa and all that. And it was actually kind of the Brentwood meeting. But so let's moving forward. I would like to ask the question about value signaling. Well, Balaji mentioned also that Web3, mentions that in the Web3 era, value signaling will replace virtue or vice signaling. Can you explain what he means by that?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm paraphrasing him, but like the value signaling, I think I'm almost sure he said this, but it's basically the news you can use, like, so every kind of media or decentralized social networks or like some kind of community media, on Web3, they will need to signal their value, what the value are they're providing to members, so they should be like and it's like another closely related topic was like user aligned content. So like their content should make you should make you like healthier, wealthier, and more skillful, so it's like learning, burning calories, and earning. So learning, burning, earning. So it's like the user aligned content, and this is the value signaling. So these kind of new types of media, the news you can use, we discussed brilliant.org before, Replit, or Balaji also jokes sometimes that A16Z is like the new types of media. They're just like for writing just for few people, but those people will become founders and they will make them like billions, like, so you can, it's like maybe 20 people read that article or something, but if they found a company based on it, like the next Facebook or something, then, and if let's say the article producers like are also investing in them, so it could be like something like venture journalist or something, it's like a combination. Then it's like a different business model, so it's like you're not just trying to virtue signal or vice signal. So it's all these like kind of culture wars, this social war that we discussed before, like you are virtue signaling how you are, I don't know, how you love diversity, but actually you are not diverse yourself, like let's say NYT, like they're using all these woke words just to drive traffic, just clickbaity kind of articles or content. But if you look at their, I don't know, their management or their company like employment and their employees, like they're not as diverse as tech companies. And we discussed before that there were 3 candidates for the top job at NYT, and they're all cousins, white cousins from, and actually all male cousins, like from Brooklyn or something. So not much diversity there. It's not like one is, I don't know, some female Kenyan journalist based in the US, and another candidate is, I don't know, from Nigeria, and another one is from Sweden or something, or from the US, but it's all like just family nepotist running for the top job. But they're virtue signaling, it's like cheap signaling, it's like different. It's like there is an expensive signal and a cheap signal, and just to use some nice words or triggering words is just like it's like a cheap signal. But like actually to put your money where your mouth is, right, it's a much more expensive signal. And vice signaling is like, okay, it's like the reverse. Sometimes you get like these, I don't know, people on the right, or these ultra conservatives, or I don't know, and just like basically internet trolls. Doesn't need to be conservatives. Maybe ultra conservatives are not even online, so it doesn't matter. But it's like some trolls, then they're like being like anti-woke, but it's like being just like too much, like they're signaling vice, not virtue. So they're signaling how, I don't know, by using some like nasty jokes or something. So it's like, but it's the same game, kind of like trying to disrupt your attention, trigger your attention. It's like all this clickbait and all this hijack of your attention, or a limbic hijack, but instead of that you can have like value signaling. It's basically, it's like, this is our community, this is the collective I don't know, tracking the collective health, wealth, and learning of that community. And it's like, it's reporting also on a Web3, like on a blockchain, and you can check it. You can independently verify like how actually this community is progressing, like every day. Like how, let's say, they're more fit because, I don't know, they're like doing better exercises, or like they're spending more and more minutes on exercises like every day, or they're getting like better food, better sleep, they're tracking their health more carefully, or changing their bad habits bit by bit. They're learning new skills, and they're also earning, like, let's say, on Replit or something. Imagine if you had like something like some collective like view on how, let's say, there is some group, let's say, some on some service like Replit or something, and you can track their like earning over time, and their skills, like they start at like some certain level, but like they're improving. So that's like the value signaling. And like new types of media. Well, it could be like Web3 decentralized social media, but it could be like some combination between Web2 and Web3. But ideally, like reporting, like getting the data out of these like Web2 interfaces into Web3, like, so you can get like your points, your karma, and some other informations from some trackers or something. You can get them on Web3. Like being recorded on a blockchain, and then being searchable by and also preserving privacy somehow, preserving privacy somehow, but like you could then make computations, so it's like your community becomes computable. That's what Balaji says. It's quite a novel actually idea.
Yeah, that's a very intriguing concept, Jakub. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and great ideas by Balaji here at Mtambo's This podcast.
Thank you, Duke, for this discussion. It was great.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed listening to Mtambo's This podcast, please don't forget to subscribe, give this episode a thumbs up, and be sure to come back next week for another episode. Until then, this is Duke Mtambo, and don't forget to do good always.